it is imperative that we hire experts in Vincent's case, because they are the people that will be able to evaluate the police actions, the doctor's reports, things of that nature with respect to what these girls had to say. And I firmly believe in Vincent's innocence, and I'll tell you why I believe that. My name is Justin Bonus. I'm an attorney. I do mostly post-conviction work. So his name is Vincent Simmons. He was accused of raping 2 white teenage twins. They were 14 years old. 13 days later, they go to the police and say that a black man was the culprit. No description other than a black man. The next day, Vincent Simmons is walking down a road and he's just arrested. He's taken to the precinct. They put him in this lineup and with handcuffs, and you could see it in the picture. That's the identification in this case. Any little bit of suggestiveness keys witnesses in, because they know they're there to identify somebody that was involved with this. So on that day, they conduct a highly suggestive lineup. Vincent is cuffed still, and he's being booked. He's being processed, right? He's shot in this police station. I think about an inch from his heart or something like that in the chest. The girls come in on May 22nd, 2 weeks to get their story together. No urgency with regard to taking these girls to a doctor. The doctor finds that Sharon Sanders, her hymen is still intact, finds no other evidence of injuries. No bruises, no cuts, no scrapes, no scars. Karen Sanders, she's not a virgin. She tells the doctor this. But there's no evidence of injury with regard to Karen, and Karen doesn't just talk about a vaginal rape, she talks about it, she being raped anally as well. So we have no evidence of what they're saying. And what's interesting about Vincent's case is a doctor has never been brought in to evaluate these reports and talk about how their statements are not reliable. The physical evidence, a clinical diagnosis would not show a rape here, okay? None. No, and what you have to do is put this in perspective. On May 22nd, when these girls come to the police station, they make no mention of a Simmons, of a nothing. It was black suspect. That's what he was referred to in the police report. This is evidence of what's called confirmation bias. This is evidence of what the police do. They do it everywhere. After they get an identification that they want, they confirm to the witness that's who they wanted you to identify. The second they arrested Vincent on May 23rd, he was the man. And they made sure that he remained the man. You know, when they lock in, it's called tunnel vision. There are so many examples of defendants who come in that have alibis, credible alibis. Cops don't interview them. Cops don't interview everybody at the scene because they don't have to. They have a tremendous amount of power, but no oversight. And to make matters worse here, the attorney for Vincent Simmons gave a letter, I think, to Vincent back in 1998 that, number one, he never received the doctor's reports. Even if he wanted to, he didn't call a doctor, but even if he wanted, I mean, like, what would the doctor look at? You can't evaluate a rape victim 2 months, 3 months after a trial. You can't do that. It was bad enough that this doctor looked at these girls 2 weeks after. Not only did the attorney not get the medical reports, which is a 1-page letter that the doctor says, I see no physical injuries with either one of these girls, he also doesn't get the 2 original statements of Sharon and Karen, where they don't mention any description. See, this is where you see that tunnel vision, early focus. They go to the doctor finds nothing wrong with them, reports go missing. Well, why did they go missing? It doesn't fit their narrative why no one interviews their grandparents, these girls. Why at midnight they show up at the house at the same time as their grandparents, and the grandparents don't see anything wrong with either of these girls. And what's very interesting about these girls are at their grandparents' house because they got in trouble, and I believe suspended from school when they were living with their mother in another town. They were sent to their grandparents' house because they were misbehaving. These were not angels. Vincent Simmons gets 100 years in prison based upon wholly unreliable evidence. And that's the question that we have to ask ourselves every day as attorneys when we look at cases like this. Imagine if it was you. You have this situation where you see certain inmates, and for me, clients, that litigate because they are innocent. They are in the law library doing whatever they can do to free themselves. And I know this because my paralegal did 21 years wrongfully. And Vincent has constantly litigated. He's filed motion after motion after motion pro se. And the courts are actually punishing him because of that. I want to be clear about that. The courts are punishing Vincent because of that. So when I see somebody like Vincent, who has remained steadfast and has litigated and has claimed his innocence even after being shot by the police, I believe him. Thanks.